I want to share something with you, and I want to ask you a question. Have you ever looked at the world around you and thought that something was missing, like something is wrong? Has it have given you this anxiety, this stress, like everybody is expecting something from you, or the world is expecting something from you? That pressure? I can't be the only one feeling this thing. It's impossible. In fact, I know because I see people suffering around me. Just what I see, other people see it, obviously. To me, it came when I was around, I don't know, 18 years old or something like that. I was coming out of high school. I was expected to become an adult. I was asked what I wanted to do with my life. Like you know, at 18 years old, makes no sense. What we expect of kids. To me, it was so the anxiety was so strong that I considered ending my life at the time. Was that strong? I know a lot of people go through that. I lost some friends to suicide. I'm not saying this to get your compassion or anything. I'm saying it because staring death in the eye socket gave me a perspective that I thought I'd share with you. At the time, I didn't know what I was trying to kill, It became quite clear at the time that I wasn't trying to kill this body, this life, this person. There was something specific. What? I didn't know. Something else came clear is I realized that if that was the solution, then it would mean that I would have to also kill that part of this guy that's beautiful. I would have to kill the guy that's creative, smart, determined. That wasn't fair. I couldn't have gotten rid of that guy. And if you are ever in a situation like that, you have to find the beauty in you. We all have it. It's not like I'm special or anything. We all have it. So I was stuck not knowing what I was trying to get rid of. At first I convinced myself that it was something outside, like the world is fucked up, It's easy to look away from our own responsibility. Like, I am in this world. So if something is wrong, it's up to me to do something about it. It's not like we are going to change the world. One person cannot make a big change, right? But still. So in my long search for freedom from that pain, I realized one thing. When you look at the world and you see something wrong, that thing that is missing is actually you. You're the one who's seeing it. It's not the you as you are when you see it. It's the you that you should be. Like, you see a hole in the world, and that hole is actually your shape. If you were to slide into it, you would see that you fit. You don't fit perfectly because you're not perfect. I think, now we all have a theory on how to get out of this mess, right? My theory that I've developed is that we need to become that thing, that ideal. When we look at the world and we see something lacking, the anxiety is caused by the fact that that thing that we see lacking is the us that we must be, that we want to be, that we came here to be. That's the pressure that right there. We feel like maybe we're not up to the task. I think that's where the anxiety is coming from. So over the years, I've developed a method to get out of it. And the method that has been fantastic. So I wanted to share it with you. Now, the method is not something that I invented, of course. Like, freedom from suffering, a lot of people have been thinking about that over the years, over the centuries and millennia. Like, Buddhism is all about that. Freedom from suffering. So my method is in part based on Buddhism. I didn't invent anything. But I also quickly felt like when you start with Buddhism, you start meditating, it's all well and good because you don't yet know what you're getting into. So you trust the method and you do your meditation. But to me, it quickly appeared that it was lacking something. Like, it's not that I don't want to criticize Buddhism needlessly. It's a great method, but something was lacking to me. It felt like when I started making progress, I saw that I started asking myself questions about. At first, I was just meditating, not thinking too much, but then I started asking questions that were more metaphysical in nature, right? I was wondering, why am I here? Okay, I need to free myself from this suffering, but why am I feeling this? Why is it here? And why am I here? And Buddhism doesn't even attempt to answer those questions. They tell you nothing is real, you're not real, stop thinking about yourself, just meditate and you'll realize that nothing matters. I couldn't accept that nothing matters. It's not something that I wanted to see in the world. That's not my answer. And to a certain perspective, it is true. There is nothing. I am nothing. But from this perspective, there is a thing. I want to embrace it. I don't want to take it as nothing. I want to embrace it. So I modified Buddhism. I fixed Buddhism. My method is actually based on a series of layers, you could say. They are not steps because you do them all the time, your whole life. It's not like you do the first one and then you move on to the second one. Anyways, the first layer is life, which is the thing that was causing me issues with Buddhism, like this life. I think the first thing that we need to do to figure out this thing, life, is to focus on life itself. Make sure that our life is in order. Like, have a job, have a house, people around you, you know. If you don't have that, how are you going to solve your problems? In the hardest times, you need a structure, because the work is not always easy. So I think that's the first step. Clearing our life so that we can work without distraction. The second layer is the mind, which is always getting in the way. Actually, let me show you something. There's a theory. Let me show. You see this tree? There, right there, there's a tree. When you look at this tree, what you see is actually an image of a tree. You don't really see a tree. And I'm not saying this because you're watching it on a screen. I mean, if you looked at a tree in your real life, you would notice, if you look up close, you would notice that it's not just a tree that you're looking at. Actually, it's not at all a tree. You're looking at an image of a tree. It's only an image. You are seeing the tree because light bounces off of it and creates an image in your eye, through your eyes, actually. So, this tree and any tree you've ever looked at is only an image. You are seeing images. What the tree really is, you have no idea. No idea. You can only know through your five senses and thoughts, like memories and stuff like that. So when you look at a tree, you're seeing an image. And what a tree really is, we don't know. And everything that we look at in our life is a bunch of images. Once you see the image, it's actually something that you can do. You can practice seeing the actual image. You can see, when you look at the tree, you can see the actual image, instead of inventing a story. And that's where the mind comes in. When you look at it, the mind is like, oh yeah, that's a tree, I remember, I've seen trees before. And then create a story. What is this tree? What color, what texture, and whatnot. And when you do that with a tree, it's okay. But when you do that with things that make you feel pain, that's where it gets problematic. And that's how we suffer. We invent stories our whole life, and we live them. We get involved emotionally. That's the problem. The mind tells us a story, and we believe it. It tells us that we are looking at a tree, when in reality, we're just looking at an image. We don't know if there's a tree. And if you manage to see the image, I encourage you to look at your own body, with your own hands, with the same look. You don't have a body. We don't have a body. Or we have an image of a body, so we can infer that we have a body. There is such a thing as a body, but it's just in our mind. We don't know what it is. Just like we can't see the tree. Not we can't see, we can't know the tree. We can see it. Seeing is an illusion. So we convince ourselves that we have a mind and a body, but in reality, all we know is that we have a body and a mind. We convince ourselves that there is a world made of matter, and in that world there is our body made of matter, and we are this little pilot inside the mind, controlling the body. That's materialism. Most people don't even question it. Materialism. This belief that the essential element of the world is matter. It's been so ingrained in our culture now that some people don't even realize that, I suppose most people don't even realize that materialism is a theory. We don't know. Now my goal is not to convince you to drop materialism. If you want to remain a materialist, it's fine. My goal is to draw your attention to the fact that it's a theory. We don't know if there's anything like matter. Matter is what we call inside this, it's a story in our mind, just like the rest. Matter. It's a way to look at the world. And we have elevated reason, in part because of the materialistic worldview that we have. We have elevated reason to the rank of God. When you hear the word unreasonable, which is supposed to mean outside of reason, when you hear unreasonable, it triggers, like you think of it as madness, right? That's the meaning of unreasonable. You're mad or you're childish. It's not supposed to mean that. Reason is only a tool, just like the mind. It's a tool that we use to interact with the world. So that's the layer of the mind. I believe that it's important to clear the mind of the biases in order to do the work. Now the next layer is the psyche, psychological work. We are full of tendencies. Tendencies are unconscious behaviors, things that we do without realizing we do them. That's where addiction is, and I'm talking about addiction in general, I'm not talking about serious problems with alcohol or drugs. We're addicted to many things. I don't even have to list the things, you know what I'm talking about. And if we let ourselves be controlled by something inside us that we don't even know, how can we know ourselves? How can we solve this mystery if we don't know? Solving a mystery is knowing. And how you get rid of tendencies is quite easy. You just look at them when they appear. You recognize that you have a problem, and you look at it when it happens. You make the commitment to do better next time, and with time you solve them. This layer is of course, it depends on, we're all different, but to me it's influenced by Carl Jung, his method of individuation. That's why I was saying my method is not my method, it's just a bunch of stuff pieced together, including Carl Jung's individuation process. So there's also working on the shadow, that part of you that, sorry, my hand is shaking, it's too heavy. Where was I? The shadow, that part of you that you repress, the things that you don't like about yourself that are in contradiction with who you think you are, who you want to be. Well, those are two different things. The one you think you are, the one you want to be. So that's the layer for the psychological work. Just like the previous two, I believe that if we don't clear our psychological framework, we cannot work properly on solving our issues. But it's not enough. There's more layers. That's why I think Carl Jung is not enough, because he doesn't go deep enough. He was a psychologist. He himself went deeper, but he didn't talk much about it, because he wanted to remain a psychologist, not a guru. But that's my theory. But he became a guru to some people. And I mean guru as a spiritual teacher, not no negative connotation. So the next layer is what I call Gnosis. It's consciousness, really. It's the layer of personal experience. Gnosis is the personal experience of the divine. And the divine is not meant in a religious sense necessarily. It depends on what you mean, what you see in the world. Religion don't mean that you have to believe in God. Divine is not necessarily God. Divine is above the mundane. If you believe, if you feel that there is something above this mundane reality, something better, something more, that's the divine I'm talking about. And we have it in us. There's divine in all of us. And the only way, in my opinion, it's not the only way, it's the best way. The best way to get to that Gnosis, which is the personal experience of the divine, to me, the best way is meditation. two forms of meditation, actually, coming from Theravada Buddhism, which is where I started with spiritual practice. Theravada Buddhism has two main meditation techniques. One is concentration meditation, where you focus on one thing and you work on getting rid of distractions. You focus on this one thing and absolutely nothing else. And when you reach that point, something happens. like they say in the Buddhist text, it's something happens. You enter the state of absorption, which is somewhere between life and death. It's quite something. That's the closest to Gnosis that I think you can ever get through concentration meditation. It's very intense, but you cannot live like that because you're not fully present. Like, yeah, you're present, but you're not operational in society. You're elsewhere, man. If you ever taken psychedelics, it's the same thing. So yeah, it's a Gnosis, it's great, but you cannot live like that. So what else? Well, there is insight meditation. Insight meditation is the practice of looking at reality how it really is. A bit like I showed you with the tree earlier, similar to that. It's looking at sensation without inventing stories about them. You look and you realize that sensations, they appear, they stay a little while, and then they leave. Every sensation is like that, including your pain, your suffering, including happiness. Which is why Buddhists talk of the middle way, which is between pain and happiness. It's a state that it's hard to deal with, being between pain and happiness. You quickly notice that when you practice that, yeah, we're bouncing constantly between happiness and pain. And it's like pain is the cost of happiness. You cannot have happiness if there's no pain. And the thing, the middle way, the thing in the middle, the Buddhists call it equanimity, but you could call it, if you were negative, you would call it indifference. It feels a bit bland, like it's not easy to live like that. But it's important to be able to. I think it's important to be able to get there so you can make the choice to get happiness. And when pain happens, you know how to deal with it. That's how I see it. So those are the two methods of Gnosis, what I call Gnosis. Personal experience of the divine. One of them, through concentration, is very intense. It's a life-changing experience, but you cannot live like that. And the other is more manageable, mentally and psychologically and whatnot. It's milder, but you can stay in that state. You can look at the world like that. And it feels liberating, man. I think there's very little method or spiritual practice that is as efficient as Theravada Buddhism. But it's not enough. To me, it's not enough. As I explained earlier, I don't think this indifference is not... The way the Buddhists explain it is you are in this cycle of birth, death and rebirth, and you are stuck in that cycle until you do the work that I just described, which leads you to liberation from it. Liberation from suffering is liberation from the cycle of death and rebirth for the Buddhists. And when you get there, they say that it's over. You don't get reborn yet anymore. You just disappear. You go back to the source. Which means you do all that work for what? Once you get there, what do you do with the rest of your life? So to get there, you go in a temple your whole life and you pray, or you don't pray, you meditate. To some people it's the same thing. It's not the same. But you meditate your whole life and then you get to the point where you are finally free and you have to finish that life, so you wait for death. And then what? What is the point? Why did you come here in the first place? And Theravada Buddhism has some explanations for it, but they don't emphasize it. They emphasize the point of view of the Absolute. There are two ways, 2 points of views really. The Absolute, where nothing matters and you don't matter. You can get a glimpse of that by thinking of your situation from the point of view of the universe. Like if you imagine the infinite scale of the universe, or in the infinite time. Like the space and time are infinite from the point of view of the universe. If you look at your life from that perspective, you are a speck of dust, you don't matter. So that's the perspective that the Buddhists have. That's why they say there is nothing. But from your perspective, this is real. It's right there. It's as real as you make it to be. So that's why I say, to me there's something lacking in Buddhism, and it's that. What I realized, and that's where we get into the next layer, is that deep down inside you, once you've gone through the first layer, right? You've cleared your life. Then you arrive at the second layer. You clear your mind. So now you're not distracted by the things of life, you're not distracted by the things of the mind, the stories. Then you clear your psychological side, your psyche. And you're no longer distracted by your tendencies and everything that is below your conscious. Then you do the meditation work. You're finally clear. You can go deep down to the essence of who you are. And there, what you meet is an inner master, what I call an inner master. Jung call it the true self. And then there's a whole religion based around that, which is Thelema. It's the religion of Aleister Crowley. Now, if you're triggered by that name, you have to go back to the layer of the mind and clear your biases. When I first discovered his work, it came by accident. Like, I'm not a big fan of Crowley or anything, but his Thelema is very interesting. And I came to his work in a funny way. I was watching an interview of a guy who wrote a disparaging biography on Crowley, calling him, emphasizing his name of 666, the beast and whatnot. That's what Crowley liked to do. This persona of the devil, which is why most people are biased towards Crowley today. And he did it on purpose. When you read his work, you know why he called himself that. He didn't want to be a prophet. He wanted people to hate him, so he wouldn't be a prophet. Mission complete. So I was watching that interview, and there's something that the guy said that revealed to me that Crowley was a mystic. A mystic is someone who seeks enlightenment. So it's probably you. If you've been following this video until now, it's probably you. It's me for sure. People who seek an answer above the mundane are mystics. And Crowley was one. And that guy who was writing a biography that was disparaging didn't even notice what he was talking about. He revealed to me that Crowley was a mystic, and he didn't even know. He didn't even realize. So I started looking at Crowley's work, and I saw this thing that I just talked about, this inner master. that Crowley called the Holy Guardian Angel, which is a funny name. Again, a funny name on purpose. He wanted to break the biases. The people who see all this persona of Crowley and are repulsed by it are not ready to read what he's trying to say. That's why he did all that. So he presents this method of talking with that inner master, what I call the inner master. And that thing is the true self of Carl Jung. It's the essence of who you are. A moment ago I talked about the thing that you see when you look at the world that is lacking. That thing that you see, it's your true self. Carl Jung's true self. Or Crowley's Holy Guardian Angel or whatever. It's what I call the inner master. Some people see it as an entity or a person or someone or something. Sorry, I'm invaded by mosquitoes. So some people see it as something outside of them, like an entity, which is it's fine. To me, it's just a part of me. So you can see it however you want. If you are religious or spiritual, or if you want to see it as an entity that's speaking to you, you can. It's fine. Crowley make it sound like it's what it is, but when you read between the lines, it's not what he believed. To him, it was the true self. So that thing is your teacher. It's how you can learn. It's your intuition. And when you speak to that thing, whether you see it as some entity or a part of you, when you speak to that part of you, it reveals to you your real purpose, why you came here. Which is what's lacking in Buddhism, in my opinion. It's there in Theravada Buddhism. There is some clues that there is this thing, this reason why you're here, but they certainly don't emphasize it. To me, it's crucial. That's how I made my breakthrough, when I realized that there's a reason why I'm here, and it's actually why I'm making this video. And once you realize why you're here, you've cleared your life, your mind, your psychological aspect. You've experienced the divine in you with meditation and whatnot. And now you know why you're here. Well, you are one-pointed now. You know exactly why you're here, and you have all the keys to be that person. You can create a life worth living. The anxiety, you have a way to deal with it now. And when it's gone, you have something to do. Someone to be. That's what I believe. I believe we are here to find why we're here, so that we can be that person. I think that's the salvation. So there you have it. That's my method. The last layer is living your life. It's the fun part. And once you know why you're here, and you want to live that life, you have to be selfless in it. You cannot. It might sound like what I'm saying, and my method might sound like it's individualistic and it's selfish. It's not at all what it is. Once you get there, you have become selfless. Like I told you that my meaning is this video. Well, not this video. I'll talk about it in a second. I'm not doing this for myself. I'm not doing it for money, for attention, for popularity or whatever. Not even for personal satisfaction. I'm doing it selflessly because that's why I'm here, and that's it. If you don't do anything with what I'm talking to you about, I don't care. If you find something interesting in it, then it's great. But even that, I don't care. I'm not doing it for success. I'm doing it because that's why I'm here. It might sound like a paradox, because it is. We came here for a reason, and then we do it selflessly. Then we go. We die and we leave. That's why we're here, to do this one thing. That's how I see it. So, talking about why I'm here and why I'm making this video, I've gathered my thoughts on my website. I'm currently writing a book, but I don't know when it will be done. But everything is on my website, it's detailed. In text form, it's easier to get in depth with this thing that making a video about it, I cannot go into the details. It needs to be snappy, a video on YouTube. This is already not snappy enough for today's standards. So the goal of this video is to introduce you to the method, but I encourage you to go to my website. And I don't sell you anything over there, I'm telling you. Even if you don't want to go, I don't care. I'm just putting it out there because that's why I'm here. So there you go. And if you want to talk about it, you can reach out to me. If you have questions, I can answer. If you want guidance, or if you want me to point to some kind of exercise that you can do, or whatever. Whatever comes to your mind, you can reach out. That's why I'm here. So, love yourself and take care of people around you. Bye.